We are on page 41. And Rabbeinu Avraham was busy telling us about how important compassion is. How important it's a principle of the Torah. This is what it's all about. This is another segment of that in which he talks about inappropriate compassion. And he's going to start off with some very extreme examples. These are not simple examples, but they're extreme.
There's a saying in the Talmud, maybe you can give me the Hebrew, he who shows chesed to the wicked
will end up showing cruelty to those who deserve kindness. Yes, misplaced mercy leads to also misplaced cruelty. And we believe very much the Chazal tells us when you train yourself to have mercy on those who don't deserve it, you end up being cruel to the people who... It's almost like there's truth in their movement, but it's almost like you'll sometimes find animal rights activists that could care less about sick people or homeless people. Because the dog to them is more important than the human. And it comes from their cause has truth to it. Our Torah commands us, Tzar B'Alei you're not allowed to hurt animals, you cannot abuse animals. But there are levels here. There's a hierarchy. There's an order, priorities, and when you twist your priorities, so everything gets shaken up.
Well, political activists who ignore their own families, neglect them.
Very good. Very good. All the time.
Even in the rabbinic world.
Yes, of course. This happens, unfortunately, too much. So says Rabbeinu Avraham ben Arambam. Rachmanut she'einena nechona, it's inappropriate compassion. I don't know that he actually put these subtitles in. I think those might have been done later in time. V'imna rachamav, a person should hold back his kindness, his compassion.
I can check my other translation.
Yeah, please do. Mimishet sifta haTorah lihitachzer elav. One should refrain from having compassion when the Torah demands us not to have compassion on someone. Like who? The Torah says that you're not allowed to protect the murderer. When a person intentionally acts against another, killing him with cunning. Even from my altar you must take him to die. It doesn't make a difference where he is. It doesn't matter where you catch him. If a person is a murderer, that's the kind of person you must uproot from society. Don't start having compassion on a person who doesn't... Hashem says this person is not worthy of our compassion. And it also says about him, if there's a person who hates his fellow, and he ambushes him, and he rises up against him, and the elders of the city shall send and take him from there. And they should place him in the hands of the Redeemer of the blood, that's the family that's taking revenge. Lo tachos enecha alav, you shall not have pity on him, says the Torah. וכן נאמר באיסור הרחמים על המסית, ואפילו הוא בנו האהוב עליו בדרך הטבע. If a person has a son who's Mesit is one who entices for idolatry. This is not the idol worshipper. This is the one who causes other people to worship idols. Okay, so imagine he's a missionary. He's out to get people to the cause of Avodah Zarah. Even if it's a person's son who they love. A person should not have mercy, not cover for them.
That, of course, today would be tempered by someone who knows Judaism, right?
Yeah, obviously, someone here, right? The category here is of a person who really knows enough to know that what he's doing is malicious. The person, that's his job, he should be the first one to kill him. I'm going to put this all into proportion in a minute. And there are some people that have kindness in a place where they should be harsh. V'katzota et kapa, one should cut off her hand. Whose hand?
The one who grabs the husband, her husband who's been fighting with another.
Very good. Two men are fighting. A woman gets involved and tries to help, and it doesn't have to be a woman. It could be a friend. It could be, but this is the Torah speaking in a classic scenario. A husband and a wife are at their home. Someone comes to start fighting, and then the woman gets violent, or the other person who's there, it doesn't have to be. The Torah speaking in a classic example. She gets violent to the point where she's actually going to be a murderer. And the Torah says you have to stop her. Even if stopping her means that you have to cut off the hand that's holding the gun or holding the knife or holding the whatever it would be. You can't have mercy with your eyes, literally, but one should not have mercy. An even more striking example is that of the wayward and rebellious son. His parents are the one that bring him to the rabbinic court. Meaning cases where parents, spouses, whoever it is, they have the obligation to go beyond their nature and to do the things that they initially would not ever believe that they wish to do. Let's put this though in perspective. First off, not every person in the world is able to kill another person. Somebody asked Rabbi Shlomo Aviner once, terrorists in Israel, if I see an Arab, he killed somebody, and then they killed him, and then now the state of Israel says that according to the law, they mow the terrorist house down. Can I go mow the terrorist house down? And says Rabbi, no, you are not the state of Israel. You are not the army of Israel. You, as an individual, do not have the right to take the law into your own hands.
Right.
You don't. And so here you're talking about a place where there's a structure, there's law, there's order, there's a system as to how these things... not every person on the street can start being that makes him a murderer.
So you're saying then, in order to do this, there'd have to be a Sanhedrin, for example?
At the very least, the Beit Din that has the ability to prosecute matters of life and death.
So it's not a Pinchas situation.
It's not a Pinchas. Right. Or some of these are. Some of these cases are. I'll give you an example. You see someone running down the street with a knife trying to kill someone else. Whatever it takes to stop that person, you must do. I don't know what the law is. I don't know how it works here. I don't know. A person might get themselves in a lot of trouble.
You can defend a third person, a third party.
Can you defend a third party?
This happened a few months ago with a guy who rammed some people walking on the street in Jerusalem, and
then they shot the guy,
and then he jumped up again with an axe, and they shot him again, and he jumped up again, but. Yeah.
Right, so
it's not always that easy to kill people.
It was like one of the zombie movies.
In halakha, we call this a law of rodef. You see one person, the same thing could apply in a rape situation, God forbid. You see a person performing a crime towards another person, there is no time to call an authority. There are situations the Torah says that you're not taking the law into your own hands. You are simply the person who the law gives power to execute whatever law needs to be executed. You, for a temporary moment, become officer of the law. That's the way the Torah looks at it.
You're delegated, in a sense, by the situation.
Right.
Which requires good judgment.
Kind of like if you see someone, a car, and someone inside, God forbid, and there's a fire in there. Yeah, you could call the fire department and then wait, but you actually have an obligation. If you can, you're able to put out the fire yourself. You're able to save the person inside. You don't just sit there. Today they have a number of cases where they've had crimes happen in public, and everyone's filming it on their iPhones, and the person gets killed. The person gets all kinds of terrible things that happen because everyone's just looking. They're waiting for the police to come. So says Rabbeinu Avraham, this is a very big extreme, but in these situations, you can't have mercy on certain people. You can't. And then the Beit Din here has another story. The Beit Din, a rabbinic court that kills a person more than once every 70 years, is considered a murderer's Beit Din. Meaning our rabbis did not look fondly upon rabbinic courts that were constantly executing people. So when you read this and the first image that pops into your head is ISIS, Islamic law in the Middle East, it's not. The Torah has volumes and volumes and volumes of tractates in the Talmud that talk about capital punishments and crimes and rabbinic courts and how we execute the law and how we put it. It takes a lot for rabbinic courts to reach certain conclusions, and that there is a check and balance system put in. But Rabbeinu Avraham is bringing extreme examples to show you on the less extreme examples. There's a bully in the class. He might have problems at his house, and the bully is causing another kid that kid might be in a suicide risk. The teacher says, yeah, but the bully, you don't know what kind of house he comes from. It's true. You might have to help him out on a personal level, but you cannot cover up for him in a place where he is hurting another human being. There are things sometimes we have a misplaced mercy. Tomorrow night we're going to go through a few examples from the prophets that such situations arose and people were unable to, and you find different examples that our tzaddikim were able to be compassionate when they need to be compassionate and cruel when they need to be cruel. And essentially this all boils down to you have to know that no character trait in the Torah is endless.
Right.
You cannot be a completely compassionate person. You cannot be a completely cruel person. You cannot be completely calm. Sometimes it's not okay for you to be calm. Sometimes you must be angry at something. You also can't be angry always. Sometimes you have to know when to be calm. The Torah is not like anything else in the world. Hashem demands from us not to be an extremist of any cause. I told the ladies today in the shiur. I told them today, and I'm going to speak. I never speak politics, so I'm not mentioning here any specific people. If you are a Republican, the son of a Republican, the grandson of a Republican, who was born voting as a Republican and walks around with a "I am a Republican" sticker on your forehead.
Tattoo.
Okay. As a Jew who follows the Torah and is a servant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you can listen to something that a Democratic candidate says, and you cannot find one word of truth, one thing that sits well with you, you are a liar. You are a liar.
That's right.
You are in pursuit of republicanism, not of the truth.
Right.
If a person is a Democrat, the son of a Democrat, the grandson of a Democrat, was born a Democrat, had a "I'm a Democrat" sticker on his forehead, and he listens to a Republican candidate, and he cannot find one word of truth that he resonates with, that sits well with him, he's a liar.
Right.
We are not, as Jews, commanded to be on one cause. Sometimes we're Republicans on this issue. Sometimes we're Democrats. Sometimes we're neither of the two. Sometimes we're both of them. You cannot take a Jew and put him in a box that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't create. Sometimes we're right-wingers. Sometimes the land of Israel, all of it is ours. Sometimes our HaShamayim say, you know what, all of it is ours, but for right now, we have to make calculations where we can be and where we can't be. You cannot put truth in a box. The same thing with compassion. You have to always be so kind. There's a book that many of you are familiar with. The rabbi who wrote it, he might be a Talmid Chacham, he might not be. The world considers him a Talmid Chacham. I don't know. I'm not sure. He has a book, one for men, one for women, on Shlom Bayit, on peace in the home. And in there he tells both couples the same thing. So the man, he tells the same thing. The woman, he tells the man, if your wife comes and she screams at you and she degrades you and she just smiles, everything is from Hashem. Everything is from Hashem. Just smile. Everything is from Hashem. So when she's going to come with a challah rolling pin and hit you on the head, oh, it's all from Hashem. There's a certain point where a person has to stand up. It's not okay. Imagine if you tell the same thing to a woman who's being abused.
Holy, that's robotic.
His attitude was compassion and belief in Hashem has to be the ultimate, but it's not. It's not the ultimate goal.
Cliche than something real.
Right.
You're pretending to behave in a way that
That's not real.
Yeah.
It's not a real way. It's like when someone told Harav Peretz the famous story about that rabbi when he was married. His wife made him some dish that he thought was terrible. It tasted so bad. And he never told her because he didn't want to offend her. So the next 50 years of his life he was eating this terrible dish because he never wanted to tell her. And then once she said, oh, I forgot to buy the special meat for this dish. And he's like, oh, don't worry, it's okay. And he told his students, thank God she didn't make this dish. I hate this food. Right? I remember he got so upset. He banged the table. He said, that's a relationship? So what kind of relationship can a husband not tell his wife that he doesn't like something? Are we truthful or are we making up these cliches that you have to be completely compassionate, you have to be completely kind? There are times when Torah demands from you not to be compassionate. You're living in Israel. There are terrorists running around right and left. You are not allowed to be compassionate towards a terrorist. And the moment we show signs of compassion, we show signs of weakness compromise our security, not just in Israel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says there are times you have to know when are you on this side of the coin and when are you on that side of the coin. And you can't always be on one side. You can't always be. So B'ezrat Hashem, the Rambam is going to guide us through. Rabbi Avraham is going to guide us through the next.
Who says it's forbidden to ever get angry. And so I said, what about Moshe Rabbeinu when he got angry? And he said, he didn't get angry. He did.
Anger is that we're going to get there also in this book, but anger is the kind of thing that you have to define. So what is anger? What causes your anger? According to the Rambam, a person whose nature is always to be angry should not ever be angry. Right? But there is a healthy anger and an unhealthy anger, and there's a time where, what does anger mean? It's like when the rabbis tell us that when a child makes someone angry, so you should discipline him, but first you have to be calm. Meaning first you have to make sure that you're not disciplining them out of anger. Because if you are, you can lead to terrible things. You have to, and then, when you're ready, you can show that you're angry, pretend that you're angry, but you're not really angry. A person has to even show anger with a certain level-headedness, which is almost sounds like two things that are mutually exclusive. But you can be passionate and also level-headed at the same time if you train your emotions through the teachings of the Torah.